Hi, I'm Michael Senoff, founder and CEO of HardToFindSeminars.com. For the last 5 years, I've interviewed the world's best business and marketing minds. Now my challenge is to build the world's largest free resource for online, downloadable audio business interviews. I've learned a lot in the last 5 years, and today I'm going to show you the skills you need to survive. Hi, this is Michael Senoff with HardToFindSeminars.com. Here's a recording I've titled, How to Get the Money You Need Fast for Your Business When the Bank Says No. If you're a small or medium-sized company requiring financing for growth, acquisition, or turnaround, this interview with Barry will open your eyes to some new possibilities. In this interview, you'll hear how Barry has carved a special niche in the financial industry. While many banks will not or cannot help a business to grow by assisting in the acquisition of another company or assisting in the turnaround of a business who is experiencing financial difficulty due to some circumstances, these banks will send them to Barry and his team. In this interview, Barry gives an in-depth explanation of each of their services along with example case studies of successes where they acted as the intermediary to the process. Their ability to structure and arrange financing that facilitates the achievement of their clients' goals has created strong relationships within the financing community. This allows Barry to deal directly with the decision makers of lending institutions. This is a fascinating new approach that will broaden your knowledge of the requirements necessary to engage a person with connections like Barry to help you achieve your desired personal growth. The bottom line is this: if you need money for your business and you've been turned down by banks and other traditional lending avenues, you need to hear this recording. Barry is one-stop shopping to help you get the money you need to facilitate acquisition or to facilitate capital to grow your enterprise. Enjoy. What is it that you offer that others don't offer, and what are some of the services that you provide?
Basically has been in business since 1986, specifically representing small to medium-sized companies, which we define as companies with revenues of about $5 to $10 million on the low end to about $100, $150 million on the top end.
And these are gross sales?
Yes, gross sales, gross revenues. We've been representing these companies primarily to facilitate their working capital needs for growth, turnaround, and acquisition. Basically, we are involved in arranging senior secured working capital lines of credit. These are revolving lines of credit typically secured by accounts receivable and inventory, as well as term debt secured typically by fixed assets, such as the machinery and equipment, and to a certain extent real estate. The primary reason companies use us is usually when their existing lender or prospective lender says, no, we don't want to finance your growth, no, we don't want to finance your turnaround, or no, we don't want to finance your acquisition. That's typically when companies come to us since 1986. So we just recently completed our 106th financing. That's out of about 1,214 that we've taken on. So we have a very high success rate.
What are some of the reasons a bank will turn someone down that they're not willing to risk that you're willing to do? How are you able to get around the problems that the banks aren't willing to risk on?
Typically, banks are concerned with maybe the company's too highly leveraged, maybe the company is in an industry that they don't feel comfortable in or don't have an expertise in, maybe the prospective borrower is not as profitable as they require, so there's a variety of reasons.
Are the banks somewhat rigid looking at they have to meet these certain criteria across the board, or it's just no deal?
So I think the banks are more conservative. They're looking for more stable companies that are not highly leveraged, have consistent profitability, that don't experience a lot of bumps in the road. Getting back to your other question a moment ago, why do companies use us? There's really two keys to our success. One, the relationships we have with lenders across the country. These are typically asset-based lending institutions which are either independent, they're either subsidiaries of major banks, finance or insurance companies, and industrials.
What's an asset lender?
Asset-based lender is a lender that's typically lending against the receivables and inventory. They're looking at that as the source of repayment for their loan as opposed to banks, which are typically more balance sheet and cash flow oriented.
So these lenders are lending based mainly on receivables coming in and secured assets of the company.
Right, typically receivables and inventory.
Do they lend on a one-to-one basis, or what's their ratio?
They'll advance up to 85% of the receivables, and typically they'll advance up to 50% of the inventory.
And how does this come into play and differentiate from factoring?
Factoring is where a company's actually selling their invoices on a recourse basis. Asset-based lending is you create basically a pool of receivables that you're borrowing against, and it's kind of done on a bulk or gross basis as opposed to an individual invoice-by-invoice basis.
So it's pretty secured lending by the time you do your due diligence.
Correct. And, most companies, including Fortune 1000 companies, are borrowing from asset-based lenders, so it's a very established form of lending. So basically the reason companies use us is our relationships with the asset-based lenders around the country, our relationships are typically with the president or EVP or senior VP of those lending organizations, and therefore these are the senior decision makers. Most borrowers, typically do not have access to the key decision makers.
And how is it that you have access to them? How did you establish these relationships? Where did this all start, and does that give you some kind of edge on other lending institutions?
Yeah, we've been doing this since 1986, and prior to that, in our firm, we were direct asset-based lenders. So these are relationships that we've developed over the years. A lot of these lenders have our existing clients in their portfolio. So when we get retained by a company, our reputation is on the line every time we do a financing. So we're really credentializing the borrower based on our track record.
So before this, you were one of the asset-based lenders. So that's how you got the expertise in knowing how to do it.
Exactly. And everybody in our firm, we're typically either CPAs or ex-lenders. The second thing that has allowed us to be successful is we do a very detailed underwriting of every transaction. And by that I mean we basically put together a book that is in a format that the lenders are used to seeing, an analysis that is critical to them, whereby we are doing a complete analysis of the company's not only collateral, but also their financial condition, projections, so forth and so on. Within the firm here, we have a team of underwriters that do that.
Let's say I'm one of these companies looking for financing, and let's say I'm local in LA, near where you are, and your team is going to come out on my location and sit with me and go through all the numbers?
Go all the numbers, and we'll put together a book that is really geared to the senior lender that it's going to go to.
So how does this differentiate from executive summary and business plan?
It's more focused to collateral and credit. The lenders really aren't concerned that you're selling a product into a market that's a $1 billion a year market.
They just want to know they're covered.
Mm-hmm.
And how long is this book, and what's in it? What's important for your team to put together in this?
The background on the company, the management, and then the critical part are what's the collateral, how does it perform, such as how quick do the receivables turn, are there any major customer concentrations, things like that, inventory, how much of it is finished goods versus raw materials or work in process, and then a complete analysis of the financial performance of the company. If they've lost money, what are they doing to turn it around? If they are profitable, are those profits real? A complete analysis that, instead of format that these senior lenders are used to seeing. The purpose of the book is really to do the lender's homework for them, so it's easier for them to get to make a decision.
You're presenting them a package there.
Exactly.
How long is it?
Depending on the deal and the size of the deal and complexity, it'll run anywhere from 10 to 20 pages, geared towards the president or EVP of lending organization to be able to read this in about 20 minutes or so.
So he's looking at lots of these.
Yeah, and usually not as well prepared as ours. But reading our book takes about 20 minutes. After that period of time, they can pretty much make a decision that this is a deal we want to go forward with.
Does that give you an edge because you know how to put these books together right?
That's extremely important. And most CEOs and CFOs, they're not in the business of raising capital all day long. They're in the business of trying to run their companies, which is a big enough challenge. And trying to find money for a company can be a full-time job, and that's the responsibility that we take off their shoulders, is really going out and finding the capital. And we have clients all over the country. We deal with lenders on a nationwide basis.
Hi, it's Michael Senoff with HardToFindSeminars.com. Thanks for watching this video. Many of my interviews last 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, sometimes even up to 2.5 hours long. They're actual mini seminars, and you've just listened to a short sample of just one of over 117 hours of exciting, hard-hitting, mind-blowing interviews on how to make money in direct mail, advertising, copywriting. I assure you, there is not a resource anywhere anywhere on the internet or on the planet that comes close to the free information I provide at hardtofindseminars.com. So go right now to hardtofindseminars.com and you'll have free access to 117 hours of audio interviews with typed word-for-word downloadable transcripts and downloadable MP3 files. Please browse some more of the videos or go right directly to hardtofindseminars.com. Thanks for watching.